family. What do I mean by that? Well, there was a glitch in the matrix. I promise I selected to send it to Rainbow Tribe, and suddenly I get an email from someone in my tribe saying, wrong email. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I went into the settings of the email, and lo and behold, the invite was sent to all the tribe. And I was like, oh. And then I figured, you know what, if people see it after the fact, it wasn't meant to be. If they see it and they need it and they want to come in for today, I figure, why not? So we have a little bit more of an expansive bubble today than normal, because if anyone received it and was like, well, heck yeah, and is coming in, then they're here. So I hope you guys don't mind, Rainbow Tribe. And for all of you who are here, because even if I tried to retract the email, if it got delivered to everyone, you know, it's a lost cause. And I assume that there's something in this information that is necessary for you if you're here. So again, welcome Rainbow Tribe and everyone else who's just like, yeah, I'm in. We are going to be going over a book specifically in the next few weeks, every Monday. And this book, if you research any successful athlete, any successful star that has gone through personal training on how to become their goal, and to really, it's been used a lot in golf, where you vision and you go into this scene and it plays itself out. And they've actually proven all of the stuff in this book to be correct. And this is going to change your life, because we no longer have to work harder. We just make edits to our neurology, essentially. But it's gonna require getting clear about your goals. The universe can't deliver, you know, it will deliver exactly what you want. And if you aren't clear, it's going to deliver this, right? So this could be health related, wealth related, purpose related, relationship related, or anywhere in that facet. And this book, ironically, if you've heard of, you know, any of the top motivational speakers in the world, if you dissect what they're talking about, this is what they're talking about. And so I'm super excited to dive into it with you all, because it was written in the 60s. It's been updated since, and virtually anyone in the self-development industry is using this content in their own way. So I guess that would be the first thing I want to share with you is, if you are a coach, a teacher, a way shower, a light worker, and you are consulting other people, your clients, I want you to also use this information as your own and turn it into your magic. What's your angle? Because mine is different, right, than yours would be. And I also empower you to use my vision, which is water bending and assisting frequencies. So, hey, Lori, I'm so glad you're here. Must be your lucky day. Yeah, I mean, that was so random. I promise I toggled Rainbow Tribe and consultants, and that was it. And then when I pressed send, it went to everyone somehow, but I guess it was meant to be. So there's going to be a replay for those in the tribe, but for everyone else, this is just a gift today. And so without further ado, the book, and this is also cool, because if you're not in the Rainbow Tribe, you can purchase this book. Now, you won't get all the activations we're going to be doing along the way, because I'm going to read to you short, like half chapters, and we're going to take it quantum. And little by little over time, we're going to have this really powerful way to reach our goals, whatever they are. And so without further ado, it's called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Okay, I'll put the name here in the chat. And so by Maxwell Maltz, okay? Maltz. There we go. All right, so because I'm going to be reading from it, So what I want you to do is really set your sacred space, your intention. As I read these few pages, there's going to be maybe 20 minutes of reading. I'm going to turn off my camera. I want you to really sink into and be open to this information. Don't be tempted to think, oh, I already know that. Oh, I've already heard this. Oh, I already do that. As Susan Green, I always quote her in Look Through Another Window, right? One of our consultants. How can you apply this information in new ways to your life? And also, how can this information help you be more compassionate towards humanity and the cycles we find ourselves in that we're witnessing, and the assholes that show up in your life, and you're like, why are they this way, right? So use this as an overlay lens to improve your compassion, your own life, and if you're a consultant or a coach of some kind, the lives of those you touch. And we're going to apply the information in a quantum way. Of course, Wednesday, if you're in the tribe, we go to the questing world and we're going to activate. But we are going to be pulling some codes today from one section of the assisting frequency spreadsheet, and I'm going to infuse those codes we choose into the activation on Wednesday. Now, if you at the end of all of this go, wow, I really want to do this, it's jointherainbowtribe.com. And if you're already in my Master Alchemist course series, which is a lifetime membership, I always apply what you've spent so far. And so you can get 50% off the annual Rainbow Tribe using the code Applied Mastery. Okay, Applied Mastery. So if you go to jointherainbowtribe.com and put in the coupon code Applied Mastery, because you're already in my course, my other course, you'll get 50% off. So don't worry about that now. You may not enjoy this. It may not resonate at all. So we're just going to set the sacred space. I'm going to turn off my visual so that we can all just partake. And I'm going to set this sacred space. We're going to definitely extend this learning beyond the pages in a quantum way. But as you hear this and you respond in an aha way, please do put it in the notes, because our chat transcript can be a very beautiful way to capture the thoughts we have as a group, and applying it, of course, quantumly after we go get into it. You're going to love it, guys. It's really, really special book. And I just got it a few days ago and I can't put it down. All right, so let's set the sacred space. All right, let's get going. The self-image, your key to a better life. During the past decade, a revolution has been quietly going on in the fields of psychology, psychiatry, and medicine in general. New theories and concepts concerning the self have grown out of the work and findings of clinical psychologists, practicing psychiatrists, and cosmetic or so-called plastic surgeons. New methods growing out of these findings have resulted in rather dramatic changes in personality, health, and apparently even in basic abilities and talents. Chronic failures have become successful. F students have changed into straight A pupils within a matter of days and with no extra tutoring. Shy, retiring, inhibited personalities have become happy and outgoing. Writing in the January 1959 issue of Cosmopolitan magazine, T.F. James summarizes the results obtained by various psychologists and MDs as follows, quote, "Understanding the psychology of the self can mean the difference between success and failure, love and hate, bitterness and happiness. The discovery of the real self can rescue a crumbling marriage, recreate a faltering career, and transform victims of personality failure. On another plane, discovering your real self means the difference between freedom and the compulsions of conformity. Your key to a better life." The most important psychological discovery of this century is the discovery of the self-image. Whether we realize it or not, each of us carries about with us a mental blueprint or picture of ourselves. It may be vague and ill-defined to our conscious gaze. In fact, it may not be consciously recognizable at all. And I'm just underlining this because you know how I love blueprints. But it is there, complete down to the last detail. This self-image is our own conception of the sort of person I am. It has been built up from our own beliefs about ourselves, but most of these beliefs about ourselves have unconsciously been formed from our past experiences, our successes and failures, our humiliations, our triumphs, and the way other people have reacted to us, especially in early childhood. From all these, we mentally construct a self or a picture of a self. Once an idea or a belief about ourselves goes into this picture, it becomes true, as far as we personally are concerned. We do not question its validity, but proceed to act upon it just as if it were true. This self-image becomes a golden key to living a better life because of two important discoveries. One, all your actions, feelings, behaviors, even your abilities are always consistent with the self-image. In short, you will act like the sort of person you conceive yourself to be. Not only this, but you literally cannot act otherwise, in spite of all your conscious efforts or willpower. The man who conceives himself to be a failure type person will find some way to fail in spite of all his good intentions or his willpower, even if opportunity is literally dumped in his lap. The person who conceives himself to be a victim of injustice, one who was meant to suffer, will invariably find circumstances to verify his opinions. The self-image is a premise, a base, or a foundation upon which your entire personality, your behavior, and even your circumstances are built. Because of this, our experiences seem to verify and thereby strengthen our self-images, and a vicious or beneficent cycle, as the case may be, is set up. For example, schoolboy who sees himself as an F-type student or one who is dumb in mathematics will invariably find his report card bears him out. He then has proof. A young girl has an image of herself as the sort of person nobody likes, will indeed find that she is avoided at the school dance. She literally invites rejection. Her woebegone expression, her hangdog manner, her over-anxiousness to please, or perhaps her unconscious hostility towards those who anticipate will affront her, all act to drive away those whom she would attract. In the same manner, a salesman or a businessman will also find that his actual experiences tend to prove his self-image is correct. Because of this objective proof, it very seldom occurs to a person that his trouble lies in his self-image or his own evaluation of himself. Tell the schoolboy that he only thinks he cannot master algebra, and he will doubt your sanity. He has tried, and still his report card tells the story. Tell the salesman that it is only an idea that he cannot earn more than a certain figure, and he can prove you wrong by his order book. He knows only too well how hard he has tried and failed. Yet, as we shall see later, almost miraculous changes have occurred both in students' grades and in the earning capacity of salesmen when they were prevailed upon to change their self-image. Number 2, again, this is a golden key to living a better life. The self-image can be changed. Numerous case studies and histories have shown that one is never too young or old to change his self-image and therefore start to live a new life. One of the reasons it has seemed so difficult for a person to change his habits, his personality, or his way of life has been that heretofore nearly all efforts at change have been directed to the circumference of the self, so to speak, rather than to the center. Numerous patients have said to me something like, if you are talking about positive thinking, I've tried that before and it just doesn't work for me. However, a little questioning invariably brings out that these individuals have employed positive thinking or attempted to employ it either on a particular external circumstance or on some particular habit or character defect. I will get that job. I will be more calm and relaxed in the future. This business venture will turn out right for me, etc. But they have never thought to change their thinking about the self. That was to accomplish these things, right? Jesus warned us about the folly of putting a patch of new material on an old garment or putting new wine into old bottles. Positive thinking cannot be used effectively as a patch or a crutch to the same self-image. In fact, it is literally impossible. Uh-oh. What's going on? Can you guys still hear me? My computer just, my screen went black. To the cloud from here on out, and I'll try and splice the two together. So here we are. Whoa, that was weird and wild, and I don't know what's happened with my computer, but all good. Okay, so let's get back to it. Hopefully you can hear me okay. All right, and then we're going to do some exercises to really hit all of this stuff home together, and we'll pull some codes. Actually, we can't really pull the codes that I wanted because it's on my computer. My computer is black. So I will email you guys later the options. And if you could just tell me what comes to mind out of the number range that I tell you later. Sorry about that, guys. But we rise above. So let me see if I can. There we go. Now I'm on speaker, so you should be able to hear me even better. Okay, so in fact, it's literally impossible to really think positively about a particular situation as long as you hold a negative concept of yourself. And numerous experiments have shown that once the concept of self is changed, other things consistent with the new concept of self are accomplished easily and without strain. So guys, that's the key. If something's a struggle, it's because your self-identity is stuck in a rut. And so hopefully together we will be able to dislodge and reframe some things. One of the earliest and most convincing experiments along this line was conducted by the late Prescott Lecky, one of the pioneers in self-image psychology. Lecky conceived of the personality as a system of ideas, all of which must seem to be consistent with one another. Ideas that are inconsistent with the system are rejected and not believed and not acted on. Ideas that seem to be consistent with the system are accepted. At the very center of this system of ideas, the keystone, the base upon which all else is built, is the individual's
ego ideal, his self-image or his conception of himself. Lecky was a school teacher and had an opportunity to test his theory on thousands of students. Lecky theorized that if a student had trouble learning a certain subject, it could be because, from the student's point of view, it would be inconsistent for him to learn. Lecky believed, however, that if you could change the student's self-concept, which underlies this viewpoint, his attitude towards the subject would change accordingly. If the student could be induced to change his self-definition, his learning ability should also change. This proved to be the case. One student who misspelled 55 words out of 100 and flunked so many subjects that he lost credit for a year became one of the best spellers in the school and made a general average of 91 in the next year. A boy who was dropped from one college because of poor grades entered Columbia and became a straight A student. A girl who had flunked Latin 4 times after 3 talks with the school counselor finished with a grade of 84. A boy who was told by a testing bureau that he had no aptitude for English won honorable mention the next year for a literary prize. The trouble with these students was not that they were dumb or lacking in basic aptitudes. The trouble was an inadequate self-image. I don't have a mathematical mind. I'm just naturally a poor speller. They identified with their mistakes and failures. Instead of saying, I failed that test, factual and descriptive, they concluded, I am a failure. Instead of saying, I flunked that subject, they said, I am a flunk out. For those who are interested in learning more about Lecky's work, I recommend securing a copy of his book, Self-Consistency, A Theory of Personality. Note, this book is now out of print. Lecky also used the same method to cure students of such habits as nail biting and stuttering. My own files contain case histories just as convincing. The man who was so afraid of strangers that he seldom ventured out of the house and who now makes his living as a public speaker. And there was the salesman who had already prepared a letter of resignation because he just wasn't cut out for selling, and 6 months later was #1 on the force of 100 salesmen. The minister who was considering retirement because of nerves and pressure of preparing a sermon a week we're getting him down, and now delivers an average of 3 outside talks a week in addition to his weekly sermons, and doesn't know he has a nerve in his body. So yes, I mean, this isn't new. We know this stuff, right, guys? But are we really paying attention to our inner voice, our inner nudging? So this is what we're going to do this week. All week, we're going to intend to become more aware of the labels we are identifying with, the things that we feel are part of the way we are or the way life is, that don't behoove us, right? The things that we don't want to be associating with, or that feel like tough luck. And, you know, it's really evident when we get into this next segment of the book. We get what we feel. And if we can change the circumstance and believe it, we will physically change all other outcomes that come hand in hand with whatever we're dealing with. But you can't fake it. That's the thing. You can't, you know, they say fake it till you make it. Well, your vibes don't lie. And if you're just putting on a front of, I can do it, you know, but on the background, you're going, yeah, right, that's not me. That's contradiction. That's not alignment. That's why so many people say the law of attraction doesn't work. It's working. It's just, you've got to vibrate truly that. You can't, affirmations don't matter, so to speak, if you're beating the opposite end of the drum at the same time while you're speaking. So let's move on, and we'll get to some exercises for the week. And also, if any of you have any, you know, contributions you want to make to the conversation, definitely we'll do that here in a few. So how a plastic surgeon became interested in self-image psychology. Offhand, there would seem to be little or no connection between surgery and psychology. Yet, it was the work of plastic surgeons that first hinted to me of the existence of the self-image and raised certain questions that led to important psychological knowledge. When I first began the practice of plastic surgery many years ago, I was amazed by the dramatic and sudden changes in character and personality that often resulted when a facial defect was corrected. Changing the physical image in many instances appeared to create an entirely new person. In case after case, the scalpel that I held in my hand became a magic wand that not only transformed the patient's appearance, but transformed his whole life. The shy and retiring became bold and courageous. A moronic, stupid boy changed into an alert, bright youngster who went on to become an executive with a prominent firm. A salesman who had lost his touch and his faith in himself became a model of self-confidence. And perhaps the most startling of all was the habitual hardened criminal who changed almost overnight from an incorrigible who had never shown any desire to change into a model prisoner who won a parole and went on to assume a responsible role in society. I reported many such case histories in my book, New Faces, New Futures, following its publication, and similar articles in leading magazines. I was besieged with questions by criminologists, psychologists, sociologists, and psychiatrists. They asked me questions that I could not answer, but they did start me on a search. Strangely enough, I learned as much, if not more, from my failures as from my successes. It was easy to explain the successes, such as the boy with the two big ears who had been told he looked like a taxi cab with both doors open. He had been ridiculed all his life, often cruelly. Association with playmates meant humiliation and pain. Why shouldn't he avoid social contacts? Why shouldn't he become afraid of people and retire into himself? Terribly afraid to express himself in any way, it was no wonder he became known as a moron. When his ears were corrected, it would seem only natural that the cause of his embarrassment and humiliation had been removed and that he should assume a normal role in life, which he did. Or consider the salesman who suffered a facial disfigurement as the result of an automobile accident. Each morning when he shaved, he could see the horrible disfigurement in his face. He began to lose confidence in himself. He became bitter and hostile. Soon, almost all his attention was directed towards himself, and his primary goal became the protection of his ego and the avoidance of situations that might bring humiliation. It is easy to understand how the correction of his facial disfigurement and the restoration of a normal face would overnight change this man's entire attitude and outlook, his feelings about himself, and result in greater success in his work. But what about the exceptions who didn't change? The Duchess, who all her life had been terribly shy and self-conscious because of a tremendous hump on her nose. Although surgery gave her a classic nose and a face that was truly beautiful, she still continued to act the part of the ugly duckling, the unwanted sister who could never bring herself to look another human being in the eye. If the scalpel itself was magic, why did it not work on the Duchess? Or what about all the others who acquired new faces but went right on wearing the same old personalities? Or how to explain the reaction of those people who insist that the surgery has made no difference whatsoever in their appearance? Every plastic surgeon has had this experience and has probably been as baffled as I was. No matter how drastic the change in appearance may be, there are certain patients who will insist that I look just the same as before. You didn't do a thing. Friends, even family, may scarcely recognize them, may become enthusiastic over their newly acquired beauty, yet the patients themselves insist that they can see only slight or no improvement, or in fact deny that any change at all has been made. Comparison of before and after photographs does little good, except possibly to arouse hostility. By some strange mental alchemy, the patient will rationalize, of course I can see that the hump is no longer in my nose, but my nose still looks just the same. Or the scar may not show anymore, but it's still there. Scars that bring pride instead of shame. Still another clue in search of the elusive self-image was the fact that not all scars or disfigurements bring shame and humiliation. When I was a young medical student in Germany, I saw another student wearing proudly his saber scar, much as an American might wear the Medal of Honor. The duelists were the elite of college society, and a facial scar was the badge that proved you a member in good standing. To these boys, the acquisition of a horrible scar on the cheek had the same psychological effect as the eradication of the scar from the cheek of my salesman patient. In old New Orleans, a Creole wore an eye patch in much the same way. I began to see that a knife itself held no magical powers. It could be used on a person to inflict a scar and on another to erase it with the same psychological results. The mystery of imaginary ugliness. To a person handicapped by a genuine congenital defect or suffering an actual facial disfigurement as a result of an accident, plastic surgery can indeed seemingly perform magic. From such cases, it would be easy to theorize that the cure-all for all neurosis, unhappiness, failure, fear, anxiety, and lack of confidence would be wholesale plastic surgery to remove all bodily defects. However, according to this theory, persons with normal or acceptable faces should be singularly free from all psychological handicaps. They should be cheerful, happy, self-confident, free from anxiety and worry. We all know only too well that's not true. Nor can such a theory explain the people who visit the office of a plastic surgeon and demand a facelift to cure a purely imaginary ugliness. There are 35 to 45-year-old women who are convinced that they look old, even though their appearance is perfectly normal and in many cases unusually attractive. There are the young girls who are convinced that they are ugly merely because their mouth, nose, or bust measurement does not exactly match that of the current reigning movie queen. There are men who believe that their ears are too big or their nose too long. No ethical plastic surgeon would even consider operating on these people, but unfortunately, the quacks, or so-called beauty doctors whom no medical association will admit to membership, have no such qualms. Such imaginary ugliness is not all uncommon. A recent survey of college co-eds showed that 90% were dissatisfied in some way with their appearance. If the words normal and average mean anything at all, it is obvious that 90% of our population cannot be abnormal or different or defective in appearance. Yet similar studies have shown that approximately the same percentage of general population finds some reasoning to be ashamed of their body. These people react just as if they suffered from an actual disfigurement. They feel the same shame. They develop the same fears and anxieties. Their capacity to really live fully is blocked and choked by the same sort of psychological roadblocks, their scars. Though mental and emotional rather than physical, are just as debilitating. All right, so we're going to do one more section, and then we'll end, and we'll talk through all of this. The self-image, the real secret. Discovery of the self-image explains all the apparent discrepancies we have been discussing. It is the common denominator, the determining factor in all our case histories, the failures as well as successes. The secret is this: to really live, that is, to find life reasonably satisfying, you must have an adequate, self-realistic self-image that you can live with. You must find yourself acceptable to you. You must have a wholesome self-esteem. You must have a self that you can trust and believe in. You must have a self that you are not ashamed to be, and one that you can feel free to express creatively rather than hide or cover up. You must have a self that corresponds to reality so that you can function effectively in a real world. You must know yourself, both your strengths and your weaknesses, and be honest with yourself concerning both. Your self-image must be a reasonable approximation of you, being neither more than you are or less than you are. When this self-image is intact and secure, you feel good. When it is threatened, you feel anxious and insecure. When your self-image is adequate and one that can be wholesomely proud, you can be wholesomely proud of, you feel self-confident. You feel free to be yourself and to express yourself. You function at your optimum. When it is an object of shame, you attempt to hide it rather than express it. Creative expression is blocked. You become hostile and hard to get along with. If a scar on the face enhances the self-image, as in the case of the German duelist, self-esteem and self-confidence are increased. If a scar on the face detracts from self-image, as in the case of the salesman, loss of self-esteem and self-confidence results. When a facial disfigurement is corrected by plastic surgery, dramatic psychological changes result only if there is a corresponding correction of the mutilated self-image. Sometimes the image of a disfigured self persists even after successful surgery, much the same as a phantom limb may continue to feel pain years after the physical or arm or leg has been amputated. All right, so that's all we will read today. And I'm just going to see if I can see the chat. This is awful. Can't believe that my computer, I really can't even see the chat, can I? I may have to restart my computer and see if that works. Oh, here's the chat. Okay. Yay. Okay. All right, so now I can see the chat. And if you want to raise your hand, and hopefully you guys can unmute yourself. If not, I'm gonna really probably have to go restart my computer. Let me see if I can, meeting settings. I'm gonna see if I can, if someone could try and unmute themselves, maybe blocked at the moment. Yeah, raise hand. I guess we can use the raise hand feature. Will someone raise their hand so that I can, oh, security, maybe. Chat, meeting settings, security, let's see. Lock meeting, waiting room, share screen, chat, unmute, share whiteboards. Darn it. This is so different on my phone than the computer. It's not letting me tell you all that you can unmute yourself. You'd think it would be in meeting settings. Yeah, okay, darn. I'm gonna have to restart my computer and hope that works. But in the meantime, this is what I want you guys to do this week, okay? I want you to start taking tabs. I want you to write strengths and weaknesses on a piece of paper. And for the whole week, I want you to start writing down any strength that you are aware of that comes up. And you can do this in the morning or the night or throughout the day. And I want you to take tabs of the things that you feel like, oh man, I'm just, lousy at that, or I'm really confident in that area. Things that, yay. Okay, I'm gonna try and get back into the meeting. My computer snapped out of it. It's going. It's launching. Ooh, please. It's so much easier on my computer. Let's see here. Oh, praise God. Here I am. Okay. Speedy is recorded. Got it. Okay. Okay, cool. Very good. All right, so I'm going to mute myself here and join the other one. If I can. Hold on here.
Oh, okay, yay, leave meeting. Okay, cool. I've reclaimed host. That should work. All right, cool. So here we are. Sorry about that. What a weird day. So yes, so what I want you all to do is start taking score. And this is, you don't need to get emotional about it or like judgy on why do I feel that way. Just consciousness alone is the key. When you look at a pattern and you see it, the pattern will change just by looking at it. So you don't even have to have a solution. This week, all we're doing is writing, what are the things that you really are like confident in yourself, in your abilities, and you have a good self-esteem, a good framework of concept about yourself. And what are the things that you don't like, or that you feel that you're inadequate or lacking? And again, we don't care where these came from. They could be true or not true. And that doesn't matter. It doesn't concern us in this exercise, okay? We're going to get to that eventually. So if everyone understands, I want to make sure you're going to just make an ongoing list. And don't even start feeling bad if you're like, wow, look at my list of things that aren't so great and compared to those that are. Because honestly, if you have more things to work on, isn't that going to mean that you're going to this year have a massive growth spurt, because you can now start to go in and tweak the way you feel about certain things related to your abilities, and carve a new path of personality. As Dr. Joe Dispenza says, your personality becomes your personal reality. And as you'll see in the book as we go, it's really self-evident. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, where if we have these parameters around what we think we can do and what we can't do, we're going to, your brain is going to reconcile that truth. And that's your truth. That's why I always say your truth is your truth and it's true, but do you want it to be? Like, that's the key. You can edit anything, because the only way you became the way you are is because you believed that in the first place. So now that you want to believe something else, the first step is, what do you believe that doesn't serve you? What do you believe that's, regardless if it's true, it can be true. But these are the things that we can then systematically go in and rewire and either get more skills around it to improve, or just simply change the way we feel about that scenario, because it truly all is in your own perception of you. And, you know, these are conversations you're having inside your own brain. No one else is privy to them but you. So don't let this opportunity pass you by this week. Have that piece of paper ready and start listing out anytime you feel confident. What is it? What's going on? Anytime you feel capable, what am I doing well? Anytime you feel less than in any way, what is that? What's that all about? And so I'm super glad that we actually got into back into the Zoom, because I want to take the final time left to compile the most resonant limiting beliefs, so that I can put the code for them to assist inside the activation for Wednesday. So first of all, I believe you can all now unmute yourself if you want to. I'm going to just double check here. Mute all. Let's see, allow users to unmute. Good. So I've allowed you to unmute. Does anyone have any thing they want to share? I'm seeing so awesome. I love this exercise. What was the name of the book? About faces. Let me get back to you, Lori. The book's out there. Anyway, who has anything they want to add while I go grab the book to look that up for Lori?
Ow, ow, ow. Are you there?
think she'll be right back, Bailey.
Yeah, who's unmuted? Lori. Hey, Lori. Oh, she's muted again. Yeah, so anyway, oh, yes, River, are you there?
Yes. Hello. I
Hi,
was just
honey.
hello. I was just wondering about all the disfigurements and beauty between brackets and what's nice, what's not nice, and why that's some people feel that they're not good looking and that makes them not function properly. Was just wondering if it was maybe only our society that does that, because I don't think tribes like in Africa think about these things. It's just a question that popped up.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you're right. I don't know if they do, if it's part of their culture or not, but we live in such a shaming and blaming society where parents don't know how to treat children because they aren't even aware that they're programming their kids. And so later we'll see that we look to authority figures, especially our parents, as like we want to please them. So whatever they're saying, we really take to heart. And it's really unfortunate because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And, you know, I think it was at one point in evolution, the larger you were, the more attractive you were, right?
Yeah.
So back then it was like, wow, if you're large, that means you eat well, which means you're wealthy, which means you're beautiful, right? And so how did things get so warped? And it's the same thing with you know, the fad about plucking your eyebrows till they aren't there, and then you draw in lines. And now it's like the bushy eyebrows are coming back in. And so it's very interesting to think about that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but that society can warp someone's idea of beauty to where, like, those girls with the lips and the Botox, and it's like, oh my Lord, like, okay, is that attractive? Like, but that's what people's brains have been programmed to think. Even the whole, like, you know, being skinny thing, like anorexic, you know, it used to be like, if you were pull thin, you were very attractive. And nowadays people are implanting their butts to make them look large. And it's just like, wow, the neurosis that goes on regarding what is beautiful and what's not beautiful. And as you said, how it affects your life to great extents is pretty wild and weird. But thanks for bringing that up. I wonder if that is a thing. And it may have something to do with the way we have mirrors. Do they even have mirrors? Like,
exactly.
Are they even aware of, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe television and movies and stuff like that. But it's also mass thinking. I mean, you put a star up, whoever, Madonna or whatever, and she's the one who's beautiful. So every girl needs to look like that. And if they don't, they feel terrible. And I think it's our society, and it's the, comment on dit le regard, it's the look of the other person. Why do we put so much importance into how that person looks at me?
Yes.
I mean, we do, but
exactly.
And that's maybe the thought to change. If you change that thought, you've already done a big step.
Absolutely. And even just adding a layer of conscious awareness around it changes the thought process. Because if kids were taught from a young age about inner beauty and strength and fortitude and positivity and the way to handle and to be good with yourself, you know, I loved that part of the book. It's like it's about you and you. Because regardless of, and that one quote comes to mind from Eleanor Roosevelt, I think. She said, your opinion of me has nothing to do with me. And the
Yeah,
more we can really, and we don't want to really, of course, we want to make sure that we do take ownership of our actions and the words that come out of our mouth and the way we come to people energetically. But truly, it's the perception internally, and it's their perception, and no two people see you the same way. You don't see yourself the same way as anyone else does. And so you get good with you. Getting good with you is what matters. And how can we do that? We can start with this list. I think this list is going to be a beautiful thing. And again, I want to highlight, you're not writing the things that you suck at because you're bashing yourself. We're investigating, because whether it's true or not is not the exercise. Okay, so you can list things that are blatantly true, but you can also list things that you just feel are true, even if they aren't true, because feeling is the truth, right? That's what you're vibing. They were talking about the lady who got her bump removed on her nose and was still like, it looks exactly the same. Like, until you change your thinking about something, you're going to keep projecting that same attitude that's then going to run on default. But the beautiful thing about this discovery is we can start looking at the things that aren't ideal and change the way we feel about them, get the skills we need, come to an agreement with where we're at without being harsh on ourselves. And we can start really rejoicing in the things that we feel good about, and making that shift into okayness much more accessible overall. And no one else can do this for you. It's your own self. And we can't ever get past our own identities. So self-image is key to any goal you have. You'll never outgrow your own self-aware, your identity. It's like your fractal. You are who you are. And no matter how much you want this, if it's outside of what you're resonating with, if it's outside of something you're identifying with, you're not identifying with it. So you're either identifying with it or not. And if you aren't, let's start if it's something that you want, and stop identifying with the habits, the defaults, the evidence even. Like, that's the other thing. It's like, it can be true, but that's not the point. Like, do you want it to be true? And so it's really exciting too when we start using codes, because as you'll see during the activation on Wednesday, we're going to pull some let's pull some codes right now from the spreadsheet. By the way, guys, this spreadsheet is going to be updated later today. Okay, so just going to, because it's been a while and someone was wanting it, and I was like, I need to really just get that uploaded. So this will be there, and in the tab section of the assisting frequencies, there's an area called beliefs. Okay, and so I want you now, I'm not sharing my screen yet because I want to make sure that we're not looking at it and going, oh yeah, that. We're going to just go into our heart space, and we're going to let me just see the range first, and then I'm going to invite you all to go within. There's a lot of them. It's a big category. All right, so the ranges, and so don't think of your favorite number. Don't think of an angel number or your birthday. I want you to visualize the doorbell ringing and your highest self giving you a piece of paper. And the range is going to be between 13 and 115. So place your hands on your heart and just allow. And it's going to come to you. You don't go to it, right? And just choose one. If you have 50 of them, like, fine. What's the first one that came? Okay, because we're going to come up with a frequency recipe here now that I'm going to code into Wednesday's activation. And just relabeling these because it was labeled incorrectly. Fill series. Okay, cool. So we're going to get a recipe going here, and mine just came to mind, so I'll do mine first. Now, guys, I may read it and you may think, no, I'm actually really not resonating with that at all. Well, this could actually be an epigenetic ancestral block above the genes that you're subconsciously playing out, even though you're not identifying with it personally. So this is where it gets very interesting indeed. So yeah, okay, I don't understand this one, but yet 48 came to mind for me. So and if there's no code, I'm going to channel it. Okay, I'm in ceremony, the ones we're missing, that we are missing, just us, right? So let me come in here, and mine was I'm helpless. Okay, I'm helpless. Let me see what others are choosing. I'm helpless, so we're going to add that one. And we'll just go right down the line. Where do you find the spreadsheet? It is in your Kajabi library in the Assisting Frequencies Masterclass series, but I'm going to update anahatacodes.com today if it's easier. Within a few hours, you refresh that page, and as long as it says today's date, 10/24/22, as last updated, that's where you'll get it, okay? So 79, so you can see here, 79. If the person who chose it could type it in, that'd be awesome. So 79, Denise, I am fat. Okay, so 79, I am fat. I am fat. A couple people, I am fat. Whether that's true or not, or even a thought, it behooves us to take a look at this programming. I am alone. I am alone, 52. Tamara, I'm alone. If you could type that in, I am alone. 89. We have, I will fail. I will fail. And 47. I am vulnerable. I am vulnerable. 113. I am inadequate. Okay, so that's coming through. We already did the I am inadequate. Yes, okay. Oops. 55. I don't exist. Ooh, that one's an intense one, huh? I don't exist. We might as well do both 18 and 35. 18. I'm not good enough. I am not good enough. And 35. I don't know. I don't know. Boy, isn't that a self-sabotage? Okay. Yes, love thyself. And to love thyself is to know thyself, right? Because as we'll find out as we go through further chapters, we are dealing with limitless consciousness stuffed inside a nervous system and brain that has to reconcile what we think with what we're experiencing. And so we overlook and don't often see the truth of things because we can only see with the eyes that we can see with. That's part of the Bible. You know, those who can hear, let them hear, and those who can't, they can't. And so this is where we can really begin to be compassionate about people and their templates, because you can't change them because they've got to want to change. And they are the way they are is because of the thoughts and emotions and their patterns. And most of the time it's subconscious. So we just have to say, you know, prayers, but also compassion for everyone's circumstance, the way they are, I was telling my daughter, she was being bullied by some girl last year in a really intense way, which I will not get into because it was very inappropriate. And I had to have meetings with the teachers, and they had to literally separate them, and they aren't allowed to physically talk to each other or anything. And I remember telling her, I said, honey, you know that her behavior is not appropriate by any means, but there is a reason. There's something behind what's happened that makes her feel that this is appropriate because of something, and or some experience she had. Well, come to find out this year that this girl who was bullying my daughter, both her parents died and she's living with her grandma. So, you know, we don't know what the other person has gone through, and they're responding in exactly the appropriate way. Whether that's good for you or not, that's up to you. You can have boundaries, and you know, that's healthy. But really, we have to be more compassionate, because no one ever overacts like it's appropriate based on their template 100%. And so, you know, compassion goes a long way when you see it that way. I get it wrong, River. I get it wrong. And this may or may not resonate. Again, you may have epigenetic, ancestral, past life data around your defaults that are saying this in contradiction to the true you that actually knows that that's BS. But it's a self-fulfilling, self-sabotage energy that once we recode, and once we understand and illuminate, enlighten this area of our fabric, we can suddenly not try harder, and these things will just magically sort of disappear because we are no longer identifying with it on a vibrational level. So really interesting, cool stuff. Hey, Tamara, I see you. Hey, Katie, I can't wait to hear about how your trip went. Ooh. Anyway, you guys just started like popping up on the side there. Cool. So yeah, awakening is so amazing. And Karen, I would add to that, that no one can awaken for someone else. Like, it can be so blatantly obvious to us as awakened people. And yet sometimes we have the hardest time looking at our own selves, right? So this week's going to be good. Make that list. And again, your job is not to decide, where did I get that from? Is it true? None of that. It's just what you're noticing about the way you're speaking to yourself. How you're feeling is the indicator. If you're doing something and it's hard, what are the things that you feel like you're lacking? What are the ways that you feel like you're not achieving? When you get frustrated, when you get worried, when you get overwhelmed, when you get sidetracked, distracted, when you're tired, when you're cranky, and then likewise, what are the things that you feel good when you're doing X, Y, and Z? Those are the things that are in your identity that behoove you. Okay. 36, I get it wrong. Yeah. And again, guys, you may not resonate with any of these on a conscious level. We're talking subconscious, which is the key. So I'm really excited. Sorry you missed the beginning. Will this have a replay? It does. It has a replay. I guess I should make it available to everyone, since that was my error. Oh God. And then the error with the Zoom was hilarious as well. So what does that say about me, right? Like, I actually was very excited with the way I handled it. So I'll add that to the cool pile, that I'm like, wow, I didn't let it affect me. I didn't miss a beat. But on the other end, you know, what is it? What is going on with that? Anywho, all right, guys, we have come to the end. We're a little over. I do apologize for the interference with my computer going blank. And I'm glad we have this list going. I'm going to channel all the codes that are missing for each of these limiting beliefs. And we're going to go into the morphic field together, the questing world, on Wednesday, with a very powerful illumination of the reality that these truths don't have to be true, and that we have access to limitlessness, and that we can shift the way we perceive of our reality, our personality, and what we associate with. I'm glad you guys came to class today. I love each and every one of you. And anything else here? Yes, love you guys so much. I'm a ballerina of balancing. Karen, you're so cute. Awesome. So beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love you guys. All right. I hope this has supported you, and we will be in touch. Guys, PM me if you're not in the Rainbow Tribe and you want this recording. All right. So we'll talk soon. See y'all on Wednesday.